We, the missionary sisters of Our Lady of the Angels, arrived in Philippines on October 4, 1997. In April, Cardinal Jaime Sin approved the request of Sister Monique Demes, Superior General, and Sister Graciela San Diego to found a mission in his country. Thus, in October 1997, the first sisters, Sister Annette Roberge, Sister Graciela San Diego, and Sister Agnès Wong came from Hong Kong for the new mission in Manila. They bought a property in Novaliches in the midst of a poor neighborhood. The Cardinal himself came to bless our new home on January 15, 1998. The sisters welcomed him with great joy on this important day, where he celebrated the first Mass in the small chapel of the convent. Sister Monique Demes chatted happily with the Cardinal upon his arrival. Sister Monique proclaimed the reading at this first Eucharistic celebration alongside the Cardinal. Besides the Cardinal, some guest priests were invited and they concelebrated at the event. Other congregations were also on the guest list. The Sisters of Mercy, Sister Graciela's cousin, Father Robert San Diego. It was a beautiful celebration. Formation House. This house of Novaliches officially became a formation house on January 2nd, 2001. Our young Filipinas who were in formation in Macau were transferred to the Philippines a few weeks earlier to continue their formation with their novice mistress, Sister Celina Yuen. Thus, Elordita Estrella, Basilia Baldesues, Sylvia Cantor, and Maricris Llasos returned to their native country. First profession in Novaliches. Shortly after her arrival in the Philippines, Elordita Estrella was ready to make her temporary profession on December 8, 2000, on the feast of the Immaculate Conception. In this picture, she is seen in the presence of Sister Celina Yuen, who was delegated to receive her first vows. Subsequently, little by little, the congregation sent other sisters from different nationalities to Novaliches. Sister Mercedes Infantes, Peruvian, Sister Flaviana Francis, Tanzanian, who joined the two Chinese already there, Sister Celina Yuen and Agnès Wong, and the young Filipinas, Elordita Estrella, Maricris Llasos, Sylvia Cantor. This small community of young sisters was already quite international. On October 4, 2001, it was the turn of Sister Sylvia Cantor, Sister Basilia Baldesues, and Sister Maricris Llasos to pronounce their first vows. Our first Filipina professed, Sister Graciela San Diego, was present at these first professions in Novaliches. She received her formation in Canada and pronounced her temporary vows in 1990 in Lennoxville. She is shown here with the new prophet sisters Basilia, Maricris, and Sylvia Cantor. Graciela died of cancer in 2019 at the age of 69 years and 6 months. She will always remain a pioneer in the history of the MNDA in the Philippines. Associates. Women from the neighborhood, including friends of Sister Graciela, joined us as associates in order to help us in our mission with the youth and the poor. Little by little, the group of associates grew. We even had a few men joining. By the way, you may remember the reality of the night angels explained in the first video. Without these dedicated people willing to get involved in our mission, it would have been difficult to conceive this kind of food project for those in need. Ondoy 2009. Solidarity has been the strength of our experience in the Philippines. Another example of cooperation occurred during the Typhoon Ondoy in 2009, which wreaked havoc on southern Novaliches and part of Manila. While Sister Danielle Connolly and Celine Lamy went to Vietnam to see the possibility of opening a MNDA mission there, Typhoon Ondoy passed through the Philippines, taking everyone by surprise. The water level rose up to 1.50 meters, as shown by the muddy marks on the screens and on the washing machine. When they returned to the convent, the water had receded, but the first floor was turned upside down. The furniture had floated and piled up from one apartment to the other, leaving the statue of the Virgin Mary free to visit the kitchen and Saint Joseph to go lying in the small storeroom in back. However, in the midst of this event, the good Lord revealed His closeness to our sisters, reminding them of His presence in the heart of their home. As the sisters entered the chapel to catch a glimpse of the damage, they noticed that the tabernacle had been knocked over by the rising waters and the door was opened. Since they were away for a few weeks, the sisters had taken care of consuming the Eucharist before their departure. What a surprise and a joy to discover the empty monstrance on the floor at the foot of the tabernacle, totally dry, clean, and shining bright. It was surrounded by a space free of mud, which, however, littered the rest of the floor. They were contemplating a touching mystery of beauty and purity. Once again, with the help of our youth group, the associates and volunteers, Sister Danielle and Sister Celine began to clean up and put the convent and the youth center in order. Some members of other religious congregations even came to help. Everything was washed and taken outside to dry in the sun. The whole neighborhood threw what was no longer good in the street to be picked up and thrown away. Of course, not everything was done in one day. Through this unfortunate event, joy and fraternity were present, whether at work, around the table, or in prayer. Prayer continued to have its place in the schedule, despite the fact that daily life was disrupted. Accustomed to a weekly time of prayer with the youth, it was a perfect opportunity to learn how to give thanks to the Lord in all situations. Here we see Sister Danielle and Sister Celine accompanying the young people in a Taizé-style prayer. MNDA solidarity with the Ondoy victims. Of course, the sisters were not the only ones to have suffered the consequences of Ondoy. Several people had also lost their house, not to mention those who also lost their lives in this deadly typhoon. The sisters set up a project in Canada to raise enough money to help many victims. The money was mainly intended to buy wood in order to distribute it among the surrounding inhabitants to rebuild or repair their damaged houses. The school year was imminent, which prompted the sisters to do another project to raise the necessary funds to help the children get their school supplies. Here we see Sister Celine in action with many volunteers. MNDA Joy, new mission in Vietnam in 2010. The year 2010 will bring along the opening of a new mission in Asia for the congregation, Vietnam. Sister Danielle Connolly said goodbye to her mission and welcomed Sister Isabel Murphy from Hong Kong to replace her. Along with Sister Elordita Estrella and Sister Isabel Montilla, she bade farewell to Sister Danielle before her departure, ensuring her of their sisterly prayer. Welcoming of young Chinese. We had the joy of welcoming young Chinese women and MNDAs, bringing them assistance in their preparation for religious life. Among them, Sister Lily Yan joined us after transferring from another congregation in mainland China. She pronounced her perpetual vows in our congregation on October 13, 2013. It was touching to see her brother priest, Father Mark Yan from Liu Parish in China, preside over the celebration of his sister's final vows. He is pictured here with Sister Lily, Sister Isabel Murphy, and Sister Louisa Loy, Regional Superior in Hong Kong, Macau. When our Filipina sisters returned from their mission abroad for a time of rest, they sometimes run into each other. Sister Graciela San Diego, Sister Maricris Llasos, and Sister Sylvia Cantor are all happy to rejoice around the same table. Welcoming Sister Lisa Mella. The years go by and the joys multiply with new arrivals. While Sister Isabel Murphy was requisitioned again to render some services to the General Council, it is Sister Lisa Mel who came to bring her color to our beautiful mission in the Philippines. At St. Francis Youth Resource Center, Sister Liz, Isabel Mantilla, and Elordita Estrella welcomed the youth, either for their homework on computers, music and sport practices, or youth prayer and festivity gatherings. The sisters experienced Franciscan joy in picking up huge fruits in our garden, whether jackfruits, durians, mangoes, etc. Their smiles are also expressive. Novaliches community had the joy of receiving new members coming to brighten our community life. The congregation sent new temporary prophetesses, namely Sister Fei Lim Filipina, second from left, Sister Ruth Rodriguez from Peru, Sister Ann Juguna from Kenya, and Sister Helen Shum, last on right, Chinese. Sister Catherine Pansewaman also came to join the community later on. As the English language is very useful to communicate in Philippines, they studied in a school in Baguio, at Ateneo University, or with the English professor who would come home. Sister Lisa Mel shared to each one a small gift as a souvenir of their efforts to learn this new language. Joy of celebrating birthdays. To live in community is also to share the joy of each other. Birthdays are a beautiful occasion to bless the Lord for the life of each one. Here, Sister Elordita enjoyed the beautiful day with Sister Catherine, Helen, and Anne. Following the chapter in 2019, Sister Isabel Murphy paid a visit to Philippines to study the situation of our mission. Our Philippine sisters came from Hong Kong for the occasion. Christmas joy. Christmas at the Youth Center is an occasion to experience solidarity and bring joy to the sisters and the families in the area. We usually share a meal to about 150 persons. Of course, it entails a huge preparation. Beside the meal, we also prepare a bag of food for each family to celebrate Christmas and gifts for the children. Fortunately, our associates and youth are happy to give a helping hand. What a joy to welcome a family from the Étaient tribe on this Christmas occasion and to bring them happiness. For I was hungry and you gave me food. I was thirsty and you gave me drink. I was a stranger and you welcomed me. Matthew 25:35. Sister Isabel Mantilla went also on the street to meet the poorest and bring them food and compassion. Sister Lisa Amel's 60th anniversary of religious life. The Jubilees of the Sisters, who celebrate God and His graces throughout so many years and also recall their own fidelity to their consecration, is an occasion for gathering and sharing their joy. We celebrated the 60th anniversary of religious consecration of our sister Lisa Mel in the presence of Bishop Antonio Tobias and Sister Danielle Connolly from Vietnam. Gathered with friends and associates on the second floor of the youth center, we participated to the Eucharist presided by Bishop Tobias. Afterwards, we shared a small wine of honor and a good cake to color the celebration. There is also joy in welcoming visitors from far away. Sister Louisa Loy and Maricris Llasos, with two of their associates from Hong Kong, accompanied by a friend from Cambridge, England. 2020, we encountered a sisterly solidarity with the people during the COVID-19. The COVID-19 crisis was not easy for anyone. People had very little to eat. Here we see our sisters cooking and preparing rice for families, Sister Elordita Estrella and Helen Schumann. People were lining up to receive their portion of food during the lockdown imposed on Novaliches. They were also able to rely on some donations from various companies to provide for the needs of the people in the area. In addition to this, Sister Elordita also took the initiative to have the streets in the neighborhood disinfected. Here we see the men at work in order to prevent contagion risks. Mother Fondra's quotation for Philippine: "We find nothing better than to surrender to the adorable will of the Divine Master," which she wrote in November 9, 1937.